Hank, co-founder of Mechanism. And
Hi.
Hi, Hank. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks for putting all this together. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, likewise. And you're quite the pioneer in the Bitcoin and stack space. So, and quite the technical guru from what all my friends tell me about you. So your reputation precedes you. Your good reputation precedes you, and we're really excited to hear what your wish list ideas. But before we get into that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to create Mechanism? Thank you.
Oops. I'm audio okay?
Are you back? Yep, you're back.
Cool. My name's Hank. I'm a co-founder and engineer at Mechanism. We're a company building basically Bitcoin and stacks apps, but going backwards a bit. I have a pretty typical kind of startup engineer type background. Since I was sort of 20 or so, just kind of been an engineer at startups, and I've always really enjoyed that because it's just fun and you get to learn so much and kind of play around with different things. So that kind of engineering background is really just your typical sort of full stack type of path. And then it was around 2017. Well, going back a few years before that is when kind of like crypto and mainly Bitcoin and blockchain tech kind of came on my radar. It was interesting to me because I've also had an interest in economics, though not professionally. And so it was kind of like this interesting marriage of those two concepts, but I didn't really understand it, to be honest. I thought it was this interesting, thing. And then finally in around 2017, I was kind of evaluating a different sort of specialties that I might want to go into, like as an engineer. Crypto is basically the one that I think really stuck out to me. And what I think the reason it kind of worked so well is that it's such a unique opportunity where it's this super kind of new and innovative field. There's a lot of opportunity, but there's also a relatively low barrier to entry because even just to the fact that anyone can build a Bitcoin or smart contract based app. There's no one to kind of tell no. There's no closed API, that sort of thing. It's just so great to be able to get building right away. So kind of learned a lot about the space at that time. I had sort of become familiar with Blockstack, which is now kind of Hero, or basically the company that eventually built the Stacks blockchain. I had a previous kind of like co-worker of mine who was at the company and decided to join the team. And so that was early 2018 when I joined there. Basically was working on user-facing applications, tooling, not so much like the core blockchain stuff itself. I'm not really like a distributed systems expert or that sort of thing, but I'm good at sort of like putting the different pieces together and trying to make something sort of useful. So worked there for about 3 years, the company that's now Hero. And then after the launch of Stacks 2.0, or really the Stacks blockchain, just kind of felt that there was this moment of, again, opportunity where I could see this, new smart contract platform coming to life, and having built on Ethereum and having familiarity with other blockchains, I thought this is a really just great design. I love Clarity, the programming language. I love kind of all the sort of opportunities that come from it. And so I decided to leave Hero and form a company building on top of Stacks. So kind of moving from like, the maybe infrastructure side of things to like the application developer side of things. And so that's where I've been.
Super. And so moving forward, so before we get into wishlist ideas, which is very on the ground, can you share with us how you see the sustainable Bitcoin economy playing out?
Yeah.
It's more like forward thinking, but let's see what your version is. And sort of paint a picture for us.
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about this, and to me, the word that comes to mind is really maturity, and maybe that's a pretty broad term, but I think if you think about it, or if I think about it, sort of like the pieces do kind of make sense. And so it's like, if there was a super mature Bitcoin ecosystem, what would that look like? So one layer is just tooling, even, tooling maybe for users, but especially for developers. There's still so much room to grow on that front. It's not easy enough, to build Bitcoin-based apps. I've done it. I've written sort of raw Bitcoin script and tried to sort of like push the edges, and it's not too easy. And so that's just a matter of, I think, documentation, tooling, libraries, examples, and as the Bitcoin ecosystem becomes more and more mature, I think we'll see just more of that, and that's really important, because that lays the building blocks for everything else that I'm sure we're all thinking about. So like from a sort of financial standpoint, a mature ecosystem is like, you kind of have all the financial primitives that you could imagine, like exchanging potentially with other assets, or just as a sort of medium exchange for goods, things like loans, and sort of more complex things like that. And there's certainly, things that exist today for that, but it's just going to get better and better and more easy to use, more capital efficient, more extensible. And so on the financial front, I think there's a ton of that as well. And then just kind of allowing Bitcoin to permeate into, a broader range of things where it's not like strictly, classic financial, like trading tools, for example, or loans. Like that's where ordinals has been so exciting, because it's like, not just that Bitcoin is this, super solid store of value, and just rock solid platform, but it's also something that you can kind of have fun with. And, you get this part of the crypto ecosystem that's more just sort of creative. And, so yeah, these are all kind of things that are what come to mind.
Super, super. Thank you for that. So let's backtrack that vision to today, especially to taking into consideration that the next Bitcoin halving is almost exactly 1 year away now. So what can we build today? I remember that you want to talk about the BNS. Like bring that into the picture, and what can builders build today to prepare for the future, or help build the future, to help build this Bitcoin economy? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so at Mechanism, our latest project has been building on top of BNS, or the Bitcoin naming system. And this is not something that we invented. It's been around for, in different kind of permutations, 5+ years. And it's an on-chain naming system, not unlike ENS and some other things, but it's really got quite a community behind it. And so we felt that there's just a lot of, again, opportunity to kind of like shepherd that forward as a community. And so we're building this sort of protocol on top of BNS called BNSX that aims to just make it more developer friendly, more user friendly, without like changing the core protocol itself. And so there's a lot that I think can absolutely be built, not only in this hackathon, but before the next halving, where we can try and make BNS really the number one like on-chain decentralized naming system out there. And so there's a lot that I think builders might be interested in. And when I give a tech talk next week, I'll dive deeper into this. There's libraries and things like that, but certainly things like how to register a name or update your name. There's this concept of zone files in BNS, which is basically like allows you to associate any kind of metadata you want with a name. And so recently, we've helped get Bitcoin payments to BNS names enabled, at least in the Hero wallet, and I think we'll see it elsewhere soon. There's some other tooling to help with Lightning addresses, and I think if we can help get this adopted just more and more in the Bitcoin space, it can be really helpful, because these on-chain naming systems, they're great for user experience, like not having to memorize long random strings, security, being able to kind of like not trust but verify sort of information based on what's on chain. And so so yeah, I look forward to talking more about that next week, and helping out developers.
Super, super. So thank you for those wish list ideas. Let me double click into that. So you already mentioned some of the significant why it is meaningful, why these are meaningful use cases. Can you go a little deeper into the potential of
Yeah,
ideas?
absolutely.
We'll just be brilliant proof of concept for the hackathon, but
Mhm.
what's the potential after that?
Yeah. So, one way this kind of shows the value is again about having a human readable, globally unique name to associate with an address or anything. And so, like with ordinals, for example, it's tough when every identifier that you see is this really long string, and there's no kind of like ability to kind of recognize at a glance things like addresses that people own their ordinals in are again not really recognizable. And so I think it would just be a huge benefit to explorers, to like ordinals explorers, to be able to enable BNS either to identify collections or to identify addresses. And again, not just so that you have a name, because any centralized service can sort of like attach a name to something, but then the ability for other users to be able to verify the certain properties behind a name allows for a nice secure experience where if I wanted to send you an ordinal, you could just give me your BNS name, and I can A, verify that easily, and B, send it to you easily without worrying about typos and that sort of thing.
Super. Thank you for that. I'm excited. So to wrap this up, can you give us a little teaser of what to expect next week? Because today was we're talking about what ideas could be built with this new technology. Now next week, how are you going to help people bring this to fruition, right? And then maybe talk about some of the prizes, because you're one of our bigger prize donors. What are the criteria for them to qualify for that prize? Right?
Yeah, so next week I'll dive a lot into a JavaScript library that I've built for all things BNS, not just BNSX, again, this sort of protocol on top of BNS, but the core protocol itself. And so certainly for things like getting information off chain, but also for interacting with the contracts, so like registering a name, transferring. And so I'm hopeful that that might inspire ideas around potentially something like buying a name with pure Bitcoin. I also want to give a little bit of time to explaining and kind of showcasing the Clarity Bitcoin library. So this is like a Clarity contract, and it has got a bunch of functionality for basically parsing and interacting with raw Bitcoin data. And so this kind of gets to one of the core benefits of the Stacks chain, is that you can actually read and verify Bitcoin state within a smart contract. So there are examples like, if you send me this amount of Bitcoin to this address, I will give you this asset, which is on the Stacks chain, or all sorts of kind of like permutations of logic like that. And so my hope is that those two can potentially be combined again for something like buying a name or offering a name for pure Bitcoin. I think that'd be really cool. In terms of prizes, so one of the aspects is one-on-one mentor sessions, and it's an honor to I guess have folks potentially desire that. I've got experience around just kind of again, like putting all the pieces together. So I've got experience building on Bitcoin, building on Stacks, building front ends and back ends that can relate to this. And so hopefully that can be valuable to to developers. And
For sure,
then,
it's priceless.
oh, thank you. Thank you. And then I actually don't know off the top of my head the exact other prizes at the moment, so I don't want to say the wrong thing, but we've got some other goodies in store too, and there'll definitely be a lot of information for that. In terms of criteria, yeah, in terms of criteria, I don't want to be too specific in terms of saying you must build, you know, for example, buy a BNS name with Bitcoin app. You know, that's an example. But really, I want to be a bit broad about, you know, apps that utilize BNS, especially in unique or useful ways that don't exist today. So that might not even be like making actual transactions. It could be something that just sort of pulls data in a really useful way from the network. I think another aspect just might be something that it could be on the tooling front type of thing, where if you're trying to build a BNS app and you kind of maybe see some shortcomings or some ways that could make it easier, that would be something that I would really strongly consider as well, because it sort of like acts as a bootstrapping layer for future apps and devs. Yeah.
Super, super. Thanks so much. And then how about you share some encouraging words to other builders out there, because we have some people on DevPost where we have over 200 signups. In total, we have over 300, but we want to make, obviously, the more the merrier, right? The more people coming to build in the Bitcoin ecosystem space, it's a win for all of us, because in order to create the sustainable Bitcoin economy, this is going to be a group effort. So say some encouraging words and invite some more builders to join the Bitcoin Olympics.
Thank you. Yeah. First, I'd say thank you to all the developers who've signed up already, because it's really important as we get to a more mature Bitcoin ecosystem that we gain the developer base. We have sort of like friendly competition of folks trying to build better and better things, kind of like showcasing examples of what can be built and getting things out there. And in terms of encouragement, yeah, I really recommend developers, even if you're just slightly interested in any of kind of the technologies, because it's not just, you know, stacks, it's really the broad Bitcoin ecosystem. It's exciting to be able to build these things. Again, there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of really good resources available and really good developers to team up with, or people of any kind to team up with. So I think it's going to be exciting and a fun experience. And yeah, I hope to see you all out there.
Super, super. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for coming on, Hank. And we're really looking forward to next week's crash course on your BNS.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And what we created to help basically help a lot of people save a lot of time, right? And hit the ground running and build some really awesome stuff for the hackathon. And we'll stay tuned for the prize criteria. And thank you again for coming on, and looking forward to next week. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for putting all this together. Talk soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.